When a child is born without a cry, people take it as a sign. In the high hills above Elderthorn, silence was feared more than thunder, for thunder breaks, but silence curses. The girl who arrived that storm-stilled night did not scream, nor did her tiny fists flail. She only breathed, quietly, eerily, her milky eyes half-lidded beneath lashes pale as snowfall.
"She sees nothing,"
the midwife murmured, tracing a rune over the child's brow.
"She will bring nothing but ruin,"
the priest declared, casting salt upon the threshold. Wrapped in black velvet, she was left beneath the shadow of Belmare Academy, a music school carved from white stone and ancient whispers. The gargoyles above its gates wept when it rained. The child was taken in not out of mercy, but out of pity, or perhaps fear. They named her Taylor, a soft name for a girl with unseeing eyes and no wolf inside her soul. For every student in Belmare was a wolf, shifting under moonlight, learning to turn breath into song, song into spell, and spell into power. But Taylor, she was different. Her fingers danced across harpstrings with haunting precision. She heard notes others could not, melodies hiding behind silence. The alphas called her cursed. The omegas called her nothing. The other girls called her the hollow echo. But the stone corridors remembered her music. And deep in the woods that bordered Belmare, someone else remembered her too. A wolf watched from the tree line, black as pitch and older than rumor. He bore a curse in his marrow and scars on his spirit. Where his kind shifted in moonlight, he shifted in shadow. Where their eyes turned gold, his flared with blue fire. His name was Timothy, once a prince of a noble pack, now the beast they feared to name. He had heard her music. It pulled at the chain wrapped around his heart. He did not know why, but when she played, he could sleep. On the third day of the winter gala, the students performed before the council. Alpha heirs with silver-stitched cloaks, omegas with white gloves and trembling hands, each one desperate to be chosen by a patron, by a pack, by fate. Taylor, with her hair braided in black ribbons and frost dusting her lashes, was not allowed on stage. She played in the servants' wing, by the cracked window, for ghosts and stone. But her song traveled, and so did he. Timothy entered the hall masked and cloaked. He had not set foot inside the walls of Belmare in 10 years. But that night, he was drawn, not by duty, but by the broken lullaby echoing through the marble halls.
"Who plays the harp?"
he asked the steward.
"No one of worth,"
the man replied.
"She's blind, a half-wolf, a burden."
Timothy only nodded. He knew burdens well. He carried one on his soul. That same night, a riddle was posted on every wall. What cannot see the moon, yet knows when it weeps? What cannot howl, yet silences kings? What has no wolf, yet tames the cursed? No one knew who wrote it, but Taylor heard the parchment rustle when they nailed it to her door. She smiled. "Me," she whispered. "That's me." And outside her window, the cursed Alpha watched the frost gather on her breath and whispered,
"Soon."
In the servants' hall that evening, as the snow began to fall, Taylor met Kevin, an Omega boy with ink-stained sleeves and a heart full of riddles. He had no pack, no power, but he had questions, and questions are sharper than claws.
"You know he's watching you, right?
Kevin said, biting into a bruised apple.
A cursed wolf. He comes every night."
Taylor didn't flinch.
"Let him watch.
Kevin snorted.
"And if he's hunting you?"
Then let him try."
She plucked a note from her harp that made the firelight tremble. Kevin stared, then laughed.
"You're mad."
"No,
Her smile curved like a winter blade.
I'm finally awake."
Somewhere in the forest, the Alpha's claws sank into frozen bark. A name spilled from his lips. a name he had never known before this week. Taylor. And with that name came the first crack in his curse, a thread of gold unraveling through the dark. Chapter 2. The Riddle of the Red Moon. At Belmare, stories did not sleep. They sang through hollow stairwells, hung in the arches like ivy, and crept beneath velvet doors at dusk. By the 7th day of the frost moon, whispers turned into prophecy. They said a cursed alpha had entered the grounds. They said he brought blood in his shadow and ruin in his kiss. They said he came for a girl with no wolf, no sight, and no place to belong. And yet, he came. And so did the riddles. Another parchment, another ink-dripped rhyme. What drinks silence and feeds on shame? What wears no crown but rules the flame? What heart is blind yet knows your name? Students whispered of demons and lost kings. Professors scoffed. But Taylor only tilted her head and hummed. The riddles sang to her, even if no one else could hear the tune.
Kevin
Was the only one bold or foolish enough to talk back to prophecy.
That's it then?
He asked, brushing soot from his sleeves.
You're the cursed wolf's fated one? That's the story we're telling now?
Taylor didn't answer. She traced her fingers across the broken harp string until it bled. Her hands knew pain better than they knew comfort. She didn't fear it. She understood it. Kevin knelt beside her, pressing a rag to her finger.
Look, Tay, this kind of magic, it doesn't end in songs and kisses. It ends in fire. Always fire.
maybe that's what I want.
He stared at her.
No one wants fire.
You don't,
She agreed softly.
but I was born in it.
3 nights passed. 3 riddles came. The students were restless. The academy elders whispered of omens and bloodlines, of prophecy long buried. On the 4th night, the red moon rose. A blood moon, rare, sacred, feared. Belmare closed its doors, but Timothy opened them. He stood beneath the western arch, wolves flanking him like shadows stitched from night. He did not speak. He did not bow. He only watched the frost gather at his boots as the elders gathered in the stone chamber. And then, from the edge of the silent hall, Taylor entered. No escort, no colors, no wolf. But the cursed alpha turned, and the room felt it. The shift in the stars, the crackle in the seams of magic. He walked toward her like a man long dead, remembering how to breathe. She reached out, uncertain.
I can't see you,
She said,
but I hear the way you carry pain, like a drum too proud to be silent.
His throat flexed.
You should fear me.
I don't fear what's already broken.
A pause. Then her words pierced like a dagger dipped in honey.
Would you like me to play for you?
He nodded. And that was the first time anyone saw Timothy, the cursed alpha, the wolf without mercy, fall to his knees. Taylor's hands found the harp, its frame cold, strings stiff with age. And when she played, time bent. The fire in the hearth stilled. The council forgot to breathe, and the ghost of Belmare wept in the rafters. Timothy closed his eyes, and for the first time in a decade, the curse quieted. Not broken, not healed, but quiet. She had touched it. Her music knew the name of his grief. Kevin, watching from the shadows, clenched his jaw. He didn't trust fate, didn't trust riddles or wolves who bled blue flame, but he trusted Taylor. And that was worse. Because the look in Timothy's eyes wasn't power. It was need. Need like claws. Need like chains. Need that made Kevin want to rip out his own heart and scream it to the stars.
I won't let him break her.
Kevin muttered, shoving a parchment deep into his cloak. One riddle left. The final one. And he knew who it was meant for. Outside the council hall, the wind howled. The sky opened. Snow fell like ashes, and high above it all, carved into the spire, a gargoyle cracked. Its eyes bled black, because love had entered the school, and so had the curse. Chapter 3. The Red Moon Doesn't Lie.
You're staring.
Taylor murmured, not even turning her head. Timothy flinched like he'd been caught stealing,
I didn't mean to.
but his voice was too low, too soft, definitely guilty. She let out a quiet laugh.
You say that like it wasn't on purpose.
I mean, it wasn't entirely.
He winced at his own fumbling. Smooth. Real smooth. Taylor's hand hovered above the harp, not playing, just resting there like she could read the air.
I can't see you, remember? But I can hear you blush.
That's not a thing.
He replied.
It is when your heart beats that loud.
He swallowed. Hard. He didn't know how to be this version of himself. Not around her. With everyone else, he was the alpha. The legend. The curse. But here, with her, he felt like a boy again. A boy trying not to trip over his own tongue.
You're really something, Taylor.
She tilted her head.
Is that a compliment or an insult?
A compliment, I think.
He ran a hand through his hair.
I've never met anyone like you.
That's usually code for you confuse me.
She said. But there was no bite to it. Just a soft curiosity.
I'm used to knowing what people want. You don't want anything from me.
He stepped closer, then hesitated.
And I don't know what to do with that.
She finally turned her face toward him, blind eyes steady.
What if I said I do want something from you?
His breath caught.
What?
Your real voice, not the alpha one, just you.
Her fingers brushed the strings, coaxing a single haunting note.
You keep hiding, even when you speak.
I'm not hiding.
Then why won't you touch me?
The question came out quiet. Too quiet. He stared at her, stunned.
I didn't want to. Push.
You didn't,
She said.
but you're pulling away, and that hurts more.
He didn't think. He just moved. One step, then two. And then his fingers were brushing hers, lightly, hesitantly, like the contact itself might burn him.
You scare me.
He admitted.
I've fought monsters, crossed cursed woods, lost my entire pack. But you play a harp and I forget how to breathe.
Taylor smiled, just a little.
I'm blind, not stupid. You talk like that again, and I'm keeping you.
They both laughed, and something broke open between them. Something fragile. Something real. Then,
I'm sorry. Am I interrupting True Love's first awkward therapy session?
Kevin's voice cut through the moment like a dagger dipped in sarcasm. Timothy turned, jaw tight. Kevin was slouching in the archway like he belonged there. He didn't. He never did. And he made that his armor. His dark hair was wind-tossed. His sleeves were rolled to the elbow. A book tucked under one arm, smirk tucked under the other. Taylor's head tilted. Kevin?
Just checking in. Thought you might want to know. The elders are about to throw a tantrum over the blood moon, and the whole cursed alpha breaking centuries-old magic seals with a musical blind girl thing.
Lovely.
Timothy muttered. Kevin sauntered closer, all lean muscle and bad ideas. He gave Taylor a smile, warm, familiar, a little too possessive.
You okay?
I'm fine.
She said gently.
I was just about to start another song.
Good. Play something angry.
He glanced at Timothy with a grin that didn't reach his eyes.
I think we could all use some tension release.
Taylor sighed.
Kev,
Don't Kev me.
His voice dropped low. You think I don't see what's happening? Here? You think this story ends well for you? Timothy stiffened.
You should go.
Kevin didn't budge.
I'm not afraid of you.
You should be.
Oh, please.
He scoffed.
You're just a dog with a ghost problem and a tragic backstory. You don't scare me.
Taylor stepped between them, palms out.
Stop it, both of you.
Her voice wasn't loud, but they listened. Because when Taylor spoke, the world shifted. Even cursed alphas and mouthy omegas knew better.
I'm not a prize, and I don't belong to either of you.
Kevin looked away first. Timothy didn't move, didn't blink, but he did take a breath. And in that breath, something changed. He finally said quietly.
I'll wait outside.
As he walked away, Kevin let out a sharp breath.
Seriously, Tay. This isn't a fairy tale.
I know,
She murmured.
but what if it's something better?
He turned, meeting her eyes even though they couldn't see. But she felt it. The heartbreak, the fear, the way Kevin would ruin himself trying to protect her. And it almost made her cry. Because she was already falling for the one person her heart should have feared. The alpha with a curse buried so deep, even he couldn't remember what it felt like to be human. Chapter 4. You don't belong here. But neither do I. Taylor sat alone in the chapel loft. The stained glass cast ribbons of blue and violet across the stone floor. It was quiet here. She liked it quiet. Her fingers grazed the harp's worn edge, not playing, just thinking. She didn't want to admit how much she replayed that moment. The warmth of Timothy's hand. The way Kevin's voice cracked when he tried to sound unbothered. Both moments lived in her chest like uninvited guests. Both men had something to offer. And both terrified her for entirely different reasons.
Pretty place to hide.
A voice said from behind. She turned, slowly. Even without sight, she knew who it was. Timothy's steps were soft, careful, but he was a presence. You didn't just hear him. You felt him,
You found me.
she said softly.
I wasn't looking.
He hesitated.
Okay. Maybe I was.
She smiled without meaning to.
That was fast. Most people don't admit that part.
I'm not most people.
No, you're the cursed alpha who shows up uninvited to music schools and listens to blind girls play lullabies for ghosts.
Exactly.
He said.
Charming, right?
She turned her face toward him.
Why are you here, really?
I wanted to see you.
That's not a reason. That's an excuse.
He leaned against the stone pillar across from her, arms folded, looking impossibly untouchable. But there was something in his expression, guarded, maybe even haunted. I came because I can't stop thinking about you. He exhaled, almost annoyed at himself. You'd think I'd be better at this. At what? Flirting with cursed energy? Talking to someone who matters. That shut her up, because it sounded honest. Too honest. She cleared her throat. You should go before someone sees us. Let them. His voice dropped. I want them to. She tensed. Don't do that. Do what? Say things like that. Make promises with your voice you're not ready to keep. Timothy moved closer. Not enough to touch. Just enough for her to feel the shift in the air. I'm not good at this, he admitted. But I don't say things I don't mean. He paused. And I don't want to stay away from you. She could feel the storm inside her building. The part of her that had never been chosen, never been seen, was clawing at the surface. I don't belong here, she whispered. Everyone knows it. You know it. I know that I don't belong here either. His voice was rough now. I was born to rule a pack that exiled me, trained by wolves who feared my bloodline. I've spent most of my life watching the world from the outside. And then I heard your music. She swallowed hard. That's not the same. It's enough. He stepped forward. Because when I hear you play, I remember what it feels like to want something more than revenge. She looked down at her hands. Do you want me because of the curse? No, he said. The curse brought me here. You're why I stayed. And then, I really should have charged tuition, Kevin said from the stairs. His voice was dry, but something in his eyes looked like it had broken. Timothy turned slowly. You keep showing up when you're not invited. And you keep showing up like this is your story, Kevin snapped. Well, guess what? Some of us were here before the dramatic monologues and tragic backstory. Taylor stood. Kevin? No, Tay. You don't get to defend him. Not when he hasn't even told you what he did. The room went still. Even the wind outside seemed to pause. What are you talking about? Taylor asked, her voice low. Kevin stepped into the light, book still tucked under his arm. He tossed it at Timothy's feet. Page 72. Go ahead. Read it out loud for her. Timothy didn't move. So Kevin did. He opened the book, held it out like a blade, and read, During the siege of Grey Hollow, the wolf with the curse burned the southern packs. Women. Children. He didn't shift. He didn't speak. Just killed. Eyes glowing blue like frostfire. Taylor's face paled. Her hands dropped to her sides. Is that true? She asked. But she already knew. Timothy's jaw tightened. I did what I had to do to survive. That's not an answer, she whispered. You said I made you feel human. You do. Then prove it. Start telling the truth. He looked at her. Really looked. Then said nothing, and walked away. Kevin watched him go, jaw tight. Then turned to Taylor, but her back was already to him. Don't, she said, voice shaking. You think you won, but all you did was take away the only thing that ever made me feel seen. And before either of them could speak again, she was gone. Chapter 5. The wrong kind of right. Taylor sat on the edge of the old fountain behind the music hall. It was cracked through the middle and mostly forgotten, like her. Moonlight spilled over the courtyard in soft silver hues, glinting off her braid as she picked at the edge of a forgotten pastry Kevin had left behind earlier. She wasn't crying. She didn't cry. But something about the night had cracked her open just enough to ache. Footsteps approached. She didn't turn. If you're here to apologize, she said quietly, you're too late. I wasn't going to, Kevin replied, settling beside her without waiting for permission. I was going to offer you half a meat pie. I stole it from the kitchen. She blinked. You stole food to cheer me up? Would you rather I stole a harp? He asked, holding out the lopsided pie wrapped in parchment. I'm not good at flowers or feelings, but I can offer carbs. She hesitated, then took it. Their hands brushed. It wasn't magic. It was normal, comforting, warm in a way that didn't ask for too much. You remember when? We snuck into the headmistress's quarters and ate all those cheese biscuits? She asked.
Gods, yes. You played decoy with that fake noble accent and said your name was Duchess of... What was it?
Lark Meadow.
She said with a half smile.
Taylor of Lark Meadow. Kevin
Laughed.
You had everyone fooled, even me. And I'm the one who taught you how to lie.
They sat in silence for a moment, chewing, shoulders brushing. No tension, no curses, just two misfits under a fractured moon. Kevin's voice lowered.
You know he's dangerous, right?
She nodded slowly.
I know.
And you still want him?
I don't know what I want,
She whispered.
but when I'm near him, the music in my head goes quiet. It's like I can breathe, like I finally stopped running.
Kevin stared at her. his expression unreadable.
Must be nice, having someone make you feel like you belong.
She turned to him.
I've always belonged with you. You were the first person who ever treated me like more than a broken thing.
He looked away.
Don't say that, unless you mean it.
I do.
She nudged him with her shoulder.
But you also chew too loud and steal pastries and interrupt every important conversation with sarcasm.
Someone has to keep you humble.
He muttered. Taylor took another bite of pie.
Is this venison?
Pork.
Oh,
She chewed thoughtfully.
you know, this is kind of nice.
Kevin tilted his head.
What is?
This, sitting here, stealing food, talking like we're not completely wrecked by our emotions.
He smiled faintly.
Lady and the Tramp. But make it cursed.
She laughed finely. The sound startled a sleeping crow on the fountain's edge.
You're the tramp.
She said.
Obviously. You're too elegant to be anything else.
They sat there until the pie was gone, until the wind turned colder, until silence settled again. But it was different now. Softer. Shared. Then,
Do you think he'll come back?
Kevin asked. His voice was small in a way she rarely heard. She didn't answer right away. Just leaned her head against his shoulder.
If he does, I need to know it's because he chose me, not the curse, not the prophecy. Me.
Kevin closed his eyes.
Then you better be ready for him to fight for you.
Why?
Because I'm not stepping aside again unless he bleeds for it.
And Taylor. She didn't know what scared her more. The idea that Timothy would, or the possibility that he already had. Chapter 6. The Luna Who Saw with No Eyes. It started with a howl. Long and ragged, not like the songs from Belmare's pack ceremonies. This one was old. Feral and cracked like a bone broken too many times. Taylor shot up from her cot before the second howl echoed through the marble halls. Her hand gripped the edge of the harp, not for music this time, for grounding. Because something in the air had shifted. Something was coming. She could feel it in the walls, in the floor beneath her feet, like the whole school had been holding its breath, and just exhaled. The door slammed open. Kevin. Breathless, shirt askew, eyes wide.
You need to move. Now.
What's happening?
She asked, already reaching for her boots.
No
Time. We're under attack. She froze.
Wolves?
Not ours.
He looked back over his shoulder.
They're rogues. And they're not just here to fight.
A third howl, closer, meaner. Kevin ran to her, gripping her shoulders.
They're looking for you.
Me?
He didn't answer. He didn't have to. She knew. The halls were chaos. Spell runes flared on the walls. Students ran. Professors barked orders. Taylor moved through it all like a shadow, Kevin at her side. But she wasn't afraid. Not like before. Something had woken up inside her. Something quiet and ancient. She could hear the wolves' paws on stone. Could feel the vibrations in the floor. And beneath it all, beneath the panic and the blood in the air, there was a riddle. Nailed to the chapel door, trembling in the wind, I do not see, yet I show the way. I do not speak, yet I name the day. I cannot shift, yet I rule the pack. Who am I? Kevin stopped to read it. Taylor didn't.
I already know.
She whispered. What? He asked, glancing back at her. She lifted her chin.
The answer, it's me.
And then the doors blew open. Wolves poured in, feral, wild, their fur slick with frost and mud. Eyes gleaming with madness. The Belmare pack responded, shifting mid-run, cloaks tearing. The air erupted in snarls, spells, and teeth. Kevin pulled Taylor back, ready to hide her. But she stepped forward.
Taylor, what are you doing?
She took a breath, one she didn't know she had been holding since birth. And then she sang. Not with words, not even with melody, with power. Her voice, low and otherworldly, cut through the frenzy like a blade of silver light. Wolves stopped mid-leap, claws stilled. Even the rogues froze, ears twitching. Because this wasn't just a song. This was command. And from the center of the blood-soaked floor, Timothy emerged. Shifting in mid-step, his transformation wasn't like the others. It was not elegant or clean. It was rage and agony and divinity tearing through his flesh. His bones cracked, his body twisted, until the man was gone. And in his place stood a black wolf crowned with blue flame, eyes glowing like ancient fire. He didn't speak. He didn't have to. The moment their eyes met, his and Taylor's, the ground knew. The pack knew. The rogues ran. Because they saw her now. The girl with no wolf. The blind one. The cursed one. Standing tall beside the fiercest alpha in centuries. Not hidden. Not broken. His Luna. Taylor lifted her chin, her voice still humming with whatever ancient truth had just cracked open inside her.
I may not shift,
She said, to no one and everyone.
but my voice will move mountains, and if anyone dares to touch this pack again,
Her voice sharpened.
I'll make them remember what it means to bleed for their sins.
Kevin stared at her, mouth open. Timothy shifted back slowly, breath ragged, his body still steaming with leftover magic. And when he looked at her, he dropped to one knee. Before the council, before the school, before the moon itself,
You're not my curse.
he said.
You're my cure.
Taylor reached for him, not because he needed it, but because she wanted to.
I don't want to rule.
She said softly.
But you already do.
He answered, and the pack, every single wolf still standing, bowed. Chapter 7. The Luna Crown. Heavy Taylor stood at the top of the old tower, wind pulling strands of hair loose from her braid. She couldn't see the shattered battlefield below, but she could still hear it. The weight of 100 hearts, the sound of wolves limping back into human skin, the eerie quiet of what came after. Kevin was behind her, arms crossed, spine against the cold stone. I told you not to get involved, he muttered. You also told me not to trust him. And yet here we are. You changed everything tonight. No, she said. I revealed what was already broken. He didn't argue. Because he knew she was right. The council met that night in the vaulted chamber. Every elder, every heir, and her. Timothy stood at her side, no longer cloaked in silence. His curse had not vanished, but now it obeyed her. When the headmistress spoke, her voice trembled beneath its usual stern tone. This changes the balance. A Luna without a wolf? Without blood ties to any house? She holds the old power, an elder said. The one before the bite, before the shift. Then she's not just Luna, someone whispered. She's something more. Taylor said nothing, until she did. And the whole chamber leaned in. I didn't ask for this, she began. I didn't train for this, or crave the title. But the truth is, you all saw me as weak because I was born different. And now that I've stopped hiding, you're afraid of what I might become. Silence. Timothy didn't look at her. He didn't need to. His presence was enough. Solid. Unchanging. You don't need to like me, Taylor continued. But you will respect me, because I've earned it. And with that, she walked out. Not with a stomp. Not with theatrics. Just grace. Unbothered. Unapologetic. Kevin followed her, of course. He always did. You realize what you just did, right? He asked, falling into step beside her. You just made enemies of everyone in power. I didn't come here to be liked. You didn't come here to start a revolution either. I didn't come here to survive, she said quietly. I came here to live. They sat again at the old fountain hours later. Timothy found them there, still soaked in moonlight and exhaustion. He didn't speak right away, just sat across from her and watched her hands, so small, so steady, fold into her lap. You're different now, he said finally. I was always this. You're just finally seeing it. He nodded slowly, and then he reached inside his coat and handed her something, a folded piece of parchment. Another riddle. She opened it carefully. Her fingers traced the ink like it was braille. The eye that sees without a face. The hand that moves without a trace. The soul that sings in shadowed grace. Who leads the lost in every place? She didn't even blink. The Luna. Kevin looked away. Timothy didn't. You're not just my Luna, he said. You're theirs. All of theirs. Whether they like it or not. Don't romanticize it, she said. This is going to be ugly. Timothy stood. So was I. Until you. She looked up. You still are. He laughed, and the sound, it was the first true laugh she'd ever heard from him. Unrestrained. A little dangerous. I miss this version of you, she said. He bent down, brushing a thumb against her cheek. I didn't know I had it in me. And before she could respond, his mouth was on hers. Hot. Sharp. A kiss that tasted like warning and promise all at once. When they finally broke apart, Kevin cleared his throat exaggeratedly. Right, well, I'm just going to go chew some thorns and pretend this never happened. Taylor laughed. Timothy didn't. He was still looking at her like she was the first sun he'd ever seen. And she was starting to believe she could burn, too. Chapter 8. The Power They'd Rather See. Broken. The corridors of Belmare were quieter now, but not peaceful. After the rogue attack, the air buzzed with the kind of tension that made even the chandeliers seem like they were holding their breath. Taylor walked with Kevin toward the dining hall, her boots clicking against polished stone. She didn't need sight to feel the stairs. They were heavy, hot with curiosity, sharp with judgment. She's here, someone hissed under their breath. Kevin shot the sound a glare. Taylor kept walking, until a voice, cold and cutting, sliced through the hall. Well, if it isn't the Luna by pity. The students nearby stilled, like prey sensing a predator. The voice belonged to Serenia, Belmare's most celebrated soprano, and the daughter of a high-ranking alpha. Her voice could charm an entire ballroom, and she knew it. Taylor stopped, angling her head toward the sound. Excuse me? You heard me. Serenia stepped forward, the scent of expensive perfume preceding her. I said congratulations. You've managed to stumble into the highest seat a wolf can offer without having the decency to shift. It's impressive, really. Like a servant pretending to be royalty. Kevin bristled. Watch your mouth. I'm only saying what everyone's thinking, Serenia said sweetly, eyes locked on Taylor. Do you really think this pack will follow someone who can't even be one of them? The only reason he chose you is because he's cursed. Makes sense he'd pick another mistake. The words hit harder than Taylor wanted to admit. Not because they were true, but because she knew there were more than a few people at Belmare who agreed. She smiled, slow and deliberate. Funny, she said, how a girl with the loudest voice in the school is so desperate for someone to hear her. Serenia's face tightened. That's supposed to be an insult? No, Taylor said simply. It's pity. Kevin smirked despite himself. Now run along before she decides to hum something that'll make you cry in front of your friends. The gathered students exchanged looks, murmurs rippling through the group. Serenya's perfect composure cracked just enough for Taylor to hear it in her breathing before she turned sharply and stalked off. Kevin leaned closer to Taylor as they continued walking. "You know she's going to try something later, right?" Taylor nodded. "Good. Let her. I'd rather know exactly where my enemies are than have them smiling in my face." That night, the council chamber smelled faintly of cedar and storm. Timothy waited for her there, a folded parchment in hand. When she joined him, he held it out. Another riddle. "I am hated for what I am not. I am envied for what I am not supposed to be. I am feared because I cannot be broken. What am I?" Taylor's lips curved faintly. "I suppose the answer's still me." "Good," Timothy said, his voice low. "Then don't
Let them.
forget it." His gaze lingered on her, steady, unapologetic. And somewhere in the shadows above, Serenya's jealousy was sharpening itself into something dangerous. Because for some people, watching you rise isn't an inspiration. It's an insult. Final chapter. The moon sees. Even what eyes cannot tailor had always thought the worst pain was being ignored. That lonely ache when the world looked right past her. But now, standing barefoot in the middle of the ceremonial grounds as the full moon burned above, she realized the worst pain was being watched, scrutinized, doubted. Even now, the Luna. Their Luna. And still, some couldn't see past what she wasn't. The ground was soft beneath her feet. Spring was arriving, timid and pale, like a child at the edge of a cold lake. Timothy stood across from her. He hadn't said much since the last council meeting. Not since Serenya's challenge. "It's not a duel," he'd said the night before, pacing, fists clenched. "It's a trap. She wants to humiliate you in front of the entire pack, to make you lose control." Taylor had sat quietly, folding her hands in her lap. "I don't need control," she'd said. "I need truth." And now the truth was here, in front of the entire academy. Hundreds of wolves watching from carved balconies. Even the gargoyles looked like they were holding their breath. Serenya stepped forward, dressed in pure white with silver-threaded embroidery that shimmered like frost. She looked like royalty. Taylor wore black. No embroidery, no crest. Just her. The judges called for silence. "This is not a trial," the headmistress declared. "This is a test. The Luna is not here to prove her worthiness. She is here to answer one question. Does her bond to the Alpha come from true power, or mere pity?" The crowd rustled. Someone laughed softly. Taylor raised her chin. The bond between her and Timothy pulsed beneath her skin like a second heartbeat. "I'll speak," she said, her voice clear. But not in defense. In declaration, Timothy's heart skipped a beat. She didn't sound afraid. She sounded inevitable. "I didn't ask to be chosen," she began. "I didn't beg to be seen. I didn't grow up dreaming of the Luna's throne, or what it would feel like to have power under my tongue. But I am here." She stepped forward. "I am blind. I cannot shift. I carry no name of nobility. I have no house, no bloodline, no crest. I was born from silence, and yet, here I stand." The moonlight deepened, bathing her in silver. Some said it was coincidence. Others said the moon herself had bent lower to hear her speak. Taylor turned to Timothy. "Do you remember the first time I heard you?" she asked quietly. He nodded. "I was walking through the stone gardens, trying not to be seen. And then I heard someone crying, but not like a boy, not like an alpha. You cried like the sky was too heavy to hold inside you." Timothy's throat tightened. "I didn't know it was you then. But I remember thinking, whoever that is, he hasn't stopped breathing yet. So he must still be trying." She took his hand, slow. gentle. You're my alpha. Not because of your title, not because of your curse, but because you saw me first. And with that, she let go of his hand and turned to Serenia. You want a display? She asked. I'll give you one. Taylor moved to the center of the circle, bare feet brushing against chalked runes. And then she sang. It was a melody older than time, a song passed through dreams, wordless, haunting, carried on wind and fire. The wolves felt it first, bones twitching, breath stilling. Then the stone walls of the academy began to hum. The stained glass flickered, and above it all, the moon grew brighter. A howl echoed across the mountaintops, not from the crowd, not from the pack, from the alpha. Timothy shifted mid-step, his body arching with grace and fury. But it wasn't the rage-fueled shift of battle. This one was clean, whole, balanced. His wolf bowed. To her. Serenia's eyes widened. Magic flickered at her fingertips, then died. She tried to speak. No sound came. Because in that moment, the bond between Alpha and Luna flared, visible to all. A thread of gold, like fire and sunlight, linking their hearts. And it had not been made from the curse. It had been made from choice. Timothy shifted back, panting, body steaming from the energy. He walked to Taylor, cupped her face in both hands. You have no idea what you've just done, he whispered. She smiled. I think I do. Then he kissed her. There, in front of them all. And not even the High Council dared interrupt. That night, the halls were quieter than they had ever been. Timothy sat on the window ledge of her room, shirt half unbuttoned, still smelling faintly of smoke and cedar. You keep surprising me, he said, watching her brush her hair in slow, graceful strokes. I haven't changed, she said. You just never asked what I was made of. He crossed the room, stopping behind her. His hands rested lightly on her shoulders. You scare me, he admitted again. But it's not the kind of fear that makes me want to run. She stood and turned to face him, blind eyes locking onto something deeper than sight. Then what kind is it? The kind that makes me never want to leave. She reached up, fingertips trailing along his jaw. You still think I'm breakable? No, he said. I think I'm the one who needs protecting. He kissed her again, slower this time. Not to prove something, not for the crowd, just because he could. She pulled him down beside her on the bed, their hands intertwined. She rested her head on his chest, listening to the steady rhythm of his heart. I've never had a home, she said softly. He kissed the top of her head. You do now. In the final week of spring, a new riddle appeared, carved into the stone wall near the old fountain. The girl with no eyes saw the moon. The wolf with no soul found his mate. The song with no words saved them both. It wasn't signed, but everyone knew. Some truths don't need names. And under the warm sun, Taylor stood at Timothy's side. Still blind, still powerful, still theirs. His fingers laced with hers. His curse no longer devouring him, but resting. Because when he looked at her, he didn't see what she lacked. He saw what they could build. And that was the greatest power of all. Epilogue. What the moon leaves behind the music school was quieter in spring. The harsh winds had softened, the frost had melted, and wildflowers now dared to creep through the cracks in the courtyard stone. Taylor stood on the old balcony, her hands resting on the moss-streaked railing. Her hair was longer now. Not by much, but she liked the way it moved in the breeze. She didn't wear black anymore. Not because she was trying to change for them, because she didn't have to. Tonight, she wore gray, a soft, storm-colored silk with velvet trim. Timothy had said it reminded him of clouds before thunder. He'd said it like a compliment. like she was the storm. And she believed him. Below, the young wolves of Belmare rehearsed for the moon festival. Lutes, flutes, and the low thrum of drums echoing across the school grounds. Even the stone gargoyles above the arches seemed to hum in time. She smiled faintly. She remembered how they used to whisper about her in this courtyard. The girl with no wolf, no sight, no place. Now they left gifts in her doorway. Notes tucked under her harp strings. Some asking for advice. Some simply saying thank you.
Do
You miss being hated? She turned at the sound of his voice. Timothy stood in the doorway, arms crossed, a crooked smile on his lips. I miss knowing who the enemy was, she said lightly. Hate is easier to understand than fear. Fear just lingers. He walked toward her slowly, like he always did, deliberate, controlled. But there was no hesitation in the way he pulled her into his arms. No fear when he kissed the curve of her jaw. They stood there for a while, just breathing together. It still startled her sometimes, how safe she felt now. How's the Eastern Territory? She asked. Quiet. For once. He leaned his forehead against hers. They're requesting a council visit, though. Seems like the rogue packs are watching again. Let them. His arms tightened around her waist. You're not afraid? I'm not fragile. You're not, he said. But you're mine, and I have every right to be protective. She chuckled, still not used to being claimed out loud. Then let me help, he murmured, brushing his lips down her neck. I'll remind you every day if I have to. You already do. He held her a little longer before whispering, Walk with me? She nodded, and they did. They took the back path, cobbled and shaded, winding through ancient sycamores that had stood longer than the academy itself. Kevin's been sulking, Timothy said after a while, pretending not to be. He's still mad about me being Luna? He's mad about losing the version of you that only belonged to him. Taylor sighed. I never only belonged to him. No, Timothy agreed. But you were safe with him, familiar. He made you feel seen when no one else dared to look. I don't want to lose him, she said quietly. But I also can't carry his ache anymore. He's learning to carry it himself, Timothy said. You gave him the tools. You just don't owe him the outcome. They stopped near the willow tree by the lake, the one with roots half exposed and initials carved deep into the trunk. Taylor traced the bark. Do you ever think about what it would have been like if we'd met earlier? Before the curse. Before Belmare. I wouldn't have loved you earlier, he said softly. She turned to him. What? I would have wanted you. Of course. You're breathtaking. But I wouldn't have loved you. He took her hands, thumbs brushing across her knuckles. I needed to lose everything. I needed to break, to bleed, to become ruined before I could see someone like you and understand what kind of love I needed. She felt it like a cord vibrating beneath her skin. That old song, the one without notes, the one only he made her hear. I'm glad you were ruined then, she whispered. He grinned. I'll ruin myself all over again if it means I get to find you every time. Later that night, she went to Kevin. He was in the library, of course. Feet on the table, a half-eaten pear in one hand, some dusty book in the other. You always chew like you're fighting the fruit, she said, stepping inside. Kevin didn't look up. Blind insults. I missed those. She sat across from him. Quiet. Still. He closed the book. Here to check if I'm still bitter? No, she said gently. Here to tell you I'll always be grateful for the way you saw me, even when I couldn't see myself. He sighed, rubbing his thumb across the page edge. You picked him. I chose me, she said. And he chose me too. That's all this ever was. He nodded slowly. I know. Doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. I'm not sorry for loving him, she said. But I'm not sorry for loving you either. Kevin looked up at her then. Eyes red, smile forced. But it was there. You were always going to be too much for me, he said. And I was always going to want more than you could give. I'm still your Luna, she said. He smiled. Yeah, that part feels right. They sat in silence, a new kind of understanding blooming between them. Not romantic, not broken, just true. Weeks passed. The Moon Festival arrived, and with it, the packs, old families, new heirs, curious allies, nervous councilmen. They came to see, and Taylor made sure they did. She didn't perform. She didn't wear crowns or gold-threaded cloaks. She stood at Timothy's side during every negotiation, every ceremony, every trial. She spoke when others whispered. She asked questions no one had dared before, and she listened. To the wind, to the wolves, to the ones who'd been silent for too long. They started calling her the Silver Tongue. Some feared her, others adored her, but no one dismissed her anymore. The day she walked into Serenya's private rehearsal was not planned. The girl stood alone in the great hall, practicing a high-pitched aria with perfect breath and posture. Her voice was still stunning, powerful, controlled. But Taylor could hear it now, the tightness, the effort. Still trying to outsing the silence? Taylor asked gently. Serenya flinched, turning sharply. Her face was tired. You win, she said flatly. You already have everything. Taylor stepped closer. I don't need you to lose for me to lead. Serenya blinked. That's not how this place works. Then maybe this place needs to change. She didn't stay. She didn't argue. She left a silver ribbon on the piano bench, and Serenya cried alone that night. Not out of hatred, but relief. Because even the proudest voices sometimes need to be heard for something other than perfection. Months passed. The academy flourished. The pack stabilized. The rogue territories quieted. But Taylor never let them forget what they'd done, what they'd ignored. She hosted ceremonies for the lowborn wolves. She built a sanctuary for orphans with no bloodlines. She appointed Omegas to sit in her advisory circle. And slowly, Belmare began to become what it had pretended to be for centuries. A place where every song mattered. One night, under a moon so full it looked like it might fall from the sky, Timothy carried her to the top of the eastern tower. She laughed the whole way. I can walk, you know. I know, he grinned. But this is more romantic. He set her down gently, kissed her forehead, then pulled out something wrapped in a velvet cloth. I didn't know if I should give this to you, he said. But I realized I want you to have everything that's mine, even the cursed parts. She opened the cloth slowly. Inside was a broken wolf fang, wrapped in silver wire. I carved it from the tooth I shattered during my first shift, he said. Back when I still thought the curse was killing me. She held it against her heart. It didn't kill you. No, he said softly. You did. Then he kissed her. And the moon, that old patient witness, glowed just a little brighter. Not because of fate. Not because of prophecy. Because two broken things had stopped trying to be fixed. And had decided to love anyway. Taylor kept the fang close. Not around her neck. Not in a glass case. But wrapped in cloth, tucked into the drawer beside her harp. It wasn't a trophy. It was a reminder of how far they'd come, of what love looked like when it wasn't about winning, of what power meant when it didn't need to shout. Sometimes she'd press her hand to it in the middle of the night when the dreams came, the old ones, the ones of corridors and whispers and a faceless future. Now, when she dreamed, it wasn't always darkness. Sometimes it was music. Sometimes it was wolves. Sometimes it was Timothy, barefoot in the meadow behind the dormitory, laughing as he chased her into the wildflowers. She'd never run fast, but he always caught her slow. And that was the difference. It was Kevin who convinced her to teach. "You realize," he said one morning over tea, "that half the school still holds its breath when you walk in, right?" "They'll get over it," she said, sipping. "Number, they won't. Not until you stop being the myth and start being the mentor." She arched a brow. "You think I'm ready for that?" "I think you've been ready since before you knew who you were." She laughed. "Who knew you'd turn out to be the wise one?" "I always was. You were just too busy being special to notice." So she began to teach. One student at a time. Not music. Not at first. She taught listening. The kind of listening that taught you how to hear a person's heartbeat through their hesitation. The kind that picked up on fear behind questions. The kind that made power less about command and more about connection. One of her students was a little girl named Isla, born mute. Everyone said she'd never lead a pack. Taylor gave her a bell and taught her to use it like punctuation. "Don't speak to be heard," she told her. "Speak to be understood." Isla rang the bell once for yes, twice for no, and 3 times the day she shifted for the first time. Not because someone forced her, but because she wanted to. One morning, Taylor woke before dawn. She could feel the moon lowering, even if she couldn't see it. Her body was more attuned now, part of the old magic, part of the bond. Timothy stirred beside her. "Why are you awake?" he asked, still gravel-voiced from sleep. "I heard something." "Kevin snoring?" "No." She paused. "A whisper." He sat up, suddenly alert. "From where?" "Inside me." She touched her stomach lightly, and everything stopped. Timothy blinked. "What?" "I think..." Her lips parted. "I think there's another heartbeat." He didn't move, didn't breathe. Then, he pulled her into him, pressing his hand to her belly like it was holy. Tears came quick, uncontrolled. "I never thought..." He choked. "I didn't think we could." "I didn't either," she whispered. "But maybe the curse didn't end. Maybe it transformed." She tilted his face up to hers. "Maybe this child is what's left behind when love survives." The months passed with quiet anticipation. Taylor walked slower. Timothy panicked often. Kevin started knitting things no one asked him to. Even Serenia sent a lullaby, written in Taylor's name. No note, just the music. And Taylor played it by instinct, fingers brushing each note like it had always belonged to her. "You're scared," Timothy whispered one night, curling behind her in bed, his hand tracing slow circles on her stomach. "Not of the child," she said, "of becoming too soft." He laughed softly. "You think softness makes you weak?" "I think I've spent so long surviving sharpness. I don't know who I'll be without it." "You'll still be you," he said. "My Luna." The moon didn't stop being powerful just because it learned how to shine. The baby came in late autumn, born in silence, like her mother. But this time, no one whispered curse. No one turned their face in fear. Instead, the whole pack gathered in the moon courtyard, each lighting a candle as the child was wrapped in silks of storm gray and silver. A girl, named Lyra. After the constellation. After the harp. After the song that brought the alpha to his knees. "She doesn't have a wolf yet," Kevin whispered, holding her for the first time. "She will," Taylor replied. "And even if she doesn't, she'll still be enough." Years later, when they told the story of the girl who became Luna, they didn't start with her blindness. They started with the riddle. What has no eyes, yet sees the soul? What cannot shift, but can shape a kingdom? What has no title, but was always meant to lead? And the answer, every child was taught, was the same. The one who loved the cursed alpha back to life.